This Sonic virus is worse than the Metal virus. It's called the Chaos Infection, another one of Eggman's experiments that went horribly wrong and of course ended up backfiring on characters we know and love. This isn't Dragon Ball. You can't just wish people back to life who are deceased with the Dragon Balls. And in this alternate universe, you're gonna wish that they were able to do that with the Chaos Emeralds. Because this infection we're gonna be following ends up taking a lot of lives in Sonic, and hopefully your favorite character survives. So starting out in the beginning, there's an emergency alert system that goes on and broadcasts on everybody's device from Eggman himself, and it's labeled the Civil Danger Alert. And on it, he says the Chaos Infection, also known as the C virus, is an incredibly dangerous, lethal virus that spreads tremendously fast. And as I'm currently finding a cure for it, I want everybody to know how to deal with it in the meantime. Dr. Gerald Robotnik is the type of person to cause his own problems, but really deal with those things on his own in private, unless it's a problem that will end up causing him his life and the destruction of the world. Then he'll team up with the others or warn them about it. I remember when he created the Metal virus and he didn't have a cure for it, but he basically said he's just gonna create his new world and build it on top of them and have them squished under the pavement. It really wasn't until he was infected he tried helping Sonic really fix the problem he created. And so he tells us about the origin of this virus and how it started on January 15th, 2024. Eggman was trying to recreate the Master Emerald and duplicate it basically, but he wasn't being careful enough. Then an explosion went off, hitting him and his assistant Miss Cortez. Both of them were hit by the explosion, but only one of them got infected, and it wasn't Eggman. And he doesn't really know why. On the broadcast, he also explains how there's only two ways to get infected, as he's still doing research about it. First, by getting bit. If you end up getting bitten by an infected, this is the most lethal way to get infected, cannot be treated, and spreads the fastest this way. And the only way you can be saved is if that limb that you were bitten on, if you were to be cut off within a 5-minute duration. So if you're bitten on your face, chest, or belly, you are, my friend, cooked. Second is exposure. Basically, if any of the infected's blood or saliva lands on you, you are infected, especially if it lands on an open wound. If not, then you can wash it off within a 10-minute duration. If you don't do it in time, you will be fully infected. Eggman also goes on and says that killing an infected is extremely difficult. In theory, this might be because it stems from the Master Emerald and its power. For example, a Chow was mutated by the Master Emerald one day and became Chaos and was strong enough to take out the whole Knuckles Echidna tribe in Sonic lore. Then he goes on and says that the brain is the key to putting them down for good. If you go for the brain, they'll be neutralized. Just like zombie apocalypse, if you go for the head, most likely they're done. Of course, not all zombie apocalypse work that way. Left 4 Dead. And lastly, he says do not touch any of the corpse after they are neutralized, as the body is still contagious even after death. He even says citizens must cover up 99% of their body, and they should not leave their home during this pandemic. They should not let others in. They should not go to a hospital. They should not see anyone, and they should not touch anyone. And right here in Corrupted Words, it says, do not let them kill you. This just further lets us know that whoever becomes infected just goes around infecting and spreading the virus. And the first person we get an update on after this broadcast is Amy Rose. So what it says right here is that it turns out in the beginning, Amy was out by herself and she ended up running into an infected. We don't know who it was, but it didn't end so well because she was in fact bitten. It then says that she just sat in her house alone for weeks. I'm guessing she probably couldn't bring herself to cutting off her arm, but luckily she didn't, because eventually Sonic found her, brought her to a new safe zone, and they ended up finding out that she's in fact immune in a weird, odd way. And ever since they found out that she was immune, she's been locked up and being tested on in hopes to find a cure using her. And this is her during the day that she was bitten. She had a mask and even her hammer, and she's actually the age of 19 in this AU. which I'm pretty sure means that these characters are older than what they are in the games. And in part 3, we're shown Sonic, and we find out where he was during the start of the pandemic. So it says that the planet that they live on, Mobius, turned into complete hell, and Sonic, being the hero he is, was going around saving as much as he could. It also says he lost a lot of family and friends, but it doesn't specify who. He did manage to save his closest friends, but didn't save Amy, and she just went missing. So he lost a lot of hope until she was found again, and then he was happy again. Sonic and Amy, if I were to put it, have had a weird relationship throughout the whole 2000s. It seemed like in the beginning, Sonic didn't really want much to do with her, but as of today, in the present day, in Sonic Frontiers, it seems like he wants to somewhat have a relationship with her. But continuing on, it wasn't too long after the pandemic broke out that Sonic would eventually get bitten. And luckily, with the help of Silver and his psychokinesis, he cut off Sonic's arm. And as you can see, he has a robotic arm, most likely from Tails. He has rings on him and a knife, and a ring that somewhat resembles the one that Chip gave him at the end of Sonic Unleashed. And he's 22 years old, which definitely confirms that it takes place way after all of the events in the video games. Shadow seems to be holding up pretty good. At the day of the pandemic, he lost power in his Chaos Emerald, so he knew something was up and went to go check on Eggman's lab and seen that everything was exploded. He immediately knew that this was a big disaster because there was no animals in sight. He also feels like the chaos energy within him feels weaker, so now he definitely has to meet up with Sonic and friends. And at the moment, he wants Eggman dead. And it seems like he's really taking this seriously because he's wearing a fully clothed outfit. It also said he's 22 years old, which I think is probably a mistake by the AU creator because he should be way older than that. Rouge the Bat was said to be on her way to Angel Island to steal the Master Emerald, but she really was going there to mess with Knuckles. And when she arrived, the Angel Island that used to be floating up was destroyed. Luckily, she found Knuckles, who was unconscious because he was attacked for the Master Emerald before Eggman stole it. And after that, for months, since the world has been basically infected, she's just been a scavenger for the group. And it seems like something happened to Omega because she says, "I've got to keep going." It's what Omega would have wanted. Now, when it comes to Tails, I'm sure a lot of you know about 9 from the Sonic Prime series, and I gotta say, he's worse than that here. He feels a lot of pressure after the pandemic broke out because everybody relies on Tails, and Cream was the only one that basically had his back and made him feel good about himself, and she sadly went missing one day, and all that was found was cheese, which made Tails just kind of have a breaking point, and he started looking at people differently. He stopped caring about Sonic and his friends like he used to, and only cares about getting a cure for the planet, until eventually he actually gets a lead on this. Then he finally sees hope on saving the planet, and on top of that, Sonic finds Amy and says that she's immune, which makes it even better. Now he's a lot more determined, but still cold, as he says to Amy, "Suck it up, you agreed to this, remember?" Now, to find out what happened to Cream, it says that she and Cheese was separated from the group after the world collapsed. And she was eventually bitten on the shoulder by an infected, so they went and hid in a barn, and after more and more time passed, she didn't get it treated, so over time, she just started growing these weird purple chaos crystals on her. This would also result to her becoming more hungrier and hungrier, and she started eating and chewing on something and realized it was her hand the whole time. And after this, she notices and understands that she's too dangerous to be around Cheese, so she sends him away. As you can see, she's in the 5th stage of the infection, and she's only 16 years old. She has a little bit of carrots to eat, a picture of Tails, a hammer to defend herself, and says, "Please find me, Mr. Sonic, I'm scared." And if you look at her body closely, it just seems like she's rotting from the outside. Continuing forward, we're shown what's going on in Tails' head, and he's having kind of a mental breakdown, as it seems. In his mind, he doesn't really like what he's become, this scientist, and not this little innocent kid that was just caring for others and just mindful. Now he's just been experimenting on Amy and doing a lot of crucial and inhumane things. Next, we're shown Knuckles finally, who we already know has been attacked by Eggman's army and robbed of the Master Emerald. And for the past months of seeing the world crumbling because of his failure to protect the Master Emerald, he kinda feels like he failed his tribe as a whole and is depressed. He still helps around with the survivors, but his main role in the story now is that he kinda has some suspicion of Tails because every time he sees Amy, she's not really talking to anybody and just less vocal to people. So Knuckles is sus of Tails and wants to know what he's really doing, so he's investigating in secret. Whatever experiments that Tails is doing on her has to be lethal and horrible because there's a part where she's chained up to the table and he's saying to her, "I know, Amy, I don't know how you're kicking it either." And she just responds with, "It's nothing new," while thinking about Sonic and her love for him the whole time, which is keeping her going. Silver the Hedgehog, who is highly inspired by the character who originated in Dragon Ball Z, Trunks, was having horrible dreams before coming from the future to the past to see what was going on. He tried to contact Blaze, but that wasn't working because for some reason the portals and things were just disconnected. And so for now, we know that he can't go back to the future. He also cut off Sonic's arm, and just like Rouge, he's been going around scavenging equipment and helping around with things. But in the meantime, Sonic and him have a weird friendship because when Sonic was bitten, immediately, like in milliseconds, Silver cut off his arm, which for now on makes Sonic look at Silver differently, as if he's scared. And Silver knows this, but he doesn't really know how to get his friend back. As you can see, he's fully covered up with an outfit that looks strikingly similar to Trunks, and he also has a sword. And he's also the same age as Sonic and Shadow. Next, going forward, we finally get some information about Eggman and what happened on that fateful day. So it turns out Eggman and his assistant, Miss Cortez, before the virus even existed, performed an ancient echidna ritual meant to duplicate the Chaos Emeralds. Or at least wanted to, but Eggman instead decided to do the Master Emeralds because of how greedy he is, which not only triggered an ancient curse, but caused the explosion and his assistant to be the first infected. After that, Eggman would spend months trying to find a cure, and after all the dead bodies are piling up because of his problem, he felt all the weight of the guilt. Eventually, after months, Tails and Sonic did find him exhausted, and Sonic didn't trust him at first, but Tails let him know that we need him to find a cure. And so Tails and Eggman work together with each other, but the problem is that Eggman doesn't really know what Tails is doing to Amy, so he is also suspicious, just like Knuckles, of him. Imagine you're a scientist looking for a cure or an antidote, and your partner that is supposed to be working with you in the lab is keeping secrets from you, not telling you all the info, and just deliberately doing things so that you don't know. That would be kinda weird and suspicious to me. Now, continuing to the next part, we're shown what happened to Omega, and it seems like he was helping people get into the safe room, and while he was doing that, Vector, who is confirmed to be married to Vanilla at this time, just came up in back of him, who was infected. Omega could have taken him on his own, but then, as he says, that more infected came, and he can't let them get to his friends, so he tells Eggman to do it. And what he told him to do was blow himself up. And after that, of course, Omega's dead. We then get some more info on what happened before that same day. And what we're told in Vanilla's summary is that everyone was chilling in the safe bunker and the whole thing was bombarded by infected out of nowhere. And unfortunately, Vector and Vanilla could not find Cream anywhere, as everyone started panicking and going crazy. And so after Vector sacrificed and rescued everyone, Tails declared Cream and Vector dead, but Vanilla just continued on helping the community in Vector's memory. She's 43 years old, seems like she's infected, but she's not. She's just holding up really good, keeping her smile up. And it wasn't until one day Rouge just out of nowhere asked her to come join them on a mission to the farm. And when she went there, she ran into Cream, who was hiding in that barn. It's also said that when they seen each other, Vanilla came dashing right towards her, and Cream tried her best to run towards her mother, but she just literally couldn't. Realistically, but sad, it has to be hard to walk around with crystals going out of your body. And as they get closer and closer to each other, it starts going slower as something bad is going to happen, and then a shot goes off. Cream drops to the floor right in front of Vanilla. This is when Vanilla completely loses it, screaming out the word no. And then we're left at a short cliffhanger and we'll find out what happens in a moment. In the meantime, after all of his research, Eggman finally releases the stages of the Chaos Virus symptoms. In stage 1, once the victim has been bitten or has been exposed, if not treated, the victim will experience sweating, cold sweats, and slight fevers. In stage 2, after a little while, the victim will start to experience irritation on the bite or exposed area along with excessive sweating, high fever, pain in the infected area, discolored skin, fur, color of skin, fur becomes desaturated, basically their fur starts losing their color, and hard bumps grow, spreading across irritated areas as we can see with Cream. By stage 3, you might want to itch yourself when looking at the photo and what's going on, but basically by this time it starts worsening, of course, and their hair loss and fur, discolored skin, and everything just gets worse. And as you can see, the infection starts spreading across their body with them turning more greenish. Now, by stage 4, they have excessive hair and fur loss, discolored skin and fur, infection continues spreading across their body, emeralds grow out their skin like bumps, rotting, decaying skin, coughing and vomiting discolored, glowing blood. They also start to go through self-cannibalism, eating themselves, and have a loss of eye color. Now, by the time of stage 5, the broadcast takes a darker turn. The TV becomes more staticky, and it just says any victims in this stage, avoid them at all costs. They are highly aggressive and violent. He also warns if you see anything with green claws, run away and hide. In the next part, we see that Amy is crying in her cell and she's just bawling out, and Tails walks up and says, "Why are you crying, Amy? Isn't this what you wanted? To find a cure for everyone? Why is that sad?" She continues crying, but as you can see, Tails is just super cold, and come to find out, the man who shot the gun at Cream the Rabbit that day was Tails. When it happened, Vanilla didn't even look at Tails, she just stood there in shock and didn't know what to do, and Shadow, of course, being in the situation before, went to go hold her and comfort her, and Tails just sat there with a tear in his eyes just crying. And soon after, maybe a couple days later or the next day, they held a funeral and Tails was there. He didn't seem any type of moved by the situation. He didn't seem like he cared. He only cared in the inside. The old Tails that wants to come out so bad at night is getting eaten alive by what he's done. All he sees is Cream at night and thinks of himself as a murderer, a cold-blooded murderer. Continuing forward, Eggman dropped another broadcast showing off the infection, this time with illustrations. So in stage 1, the beginning of the infection, the bite or exposure just starts to spread. In the second stage, they get irritation and hard bumps. They probably become more itchy. By the third, their nerves start to glow. And as you can see, like explained before, their hair starts to fall off and fur as well. By stage 4, they have crystals and decaying skin coming out of their body. And this is what they look like by stage 5. And you wonder how Eggman knows this? This is his assistant, and that day, when the explosion happened, he's seen it firsthand. He recorded the whole interaction on video with his recorder and eventually was caught by the creature and fortunately was able to get away. Going on, we're shown a brief moment where Shadow is dealing with Omega's death, and Rouge is just there to tell him that he's not coming back, but is also there to comfort him as well. It looks like Charmy's in this AU as well, and it turns out him and the rest of the Chaotix, including SBO and Vector, were at the shelter that day that Vector died, and Vector was like a father figure to Charmy. So he started going crazy, but SBO kept him under control, and one day SBO went on a mission that he was told to go on by Tails, but never returned, which was basically the breaking point for Charmy, and now spends his days crying alone and just clings on to any hope left that SBO will come back. He even wears Vector's gold chain around his neck. Now, no one knows where Charmy is, but we are shown something very important when it comes to Tails. We see that Tails is very manipulative because he tells Sonic to go get the emerald. He does it, he loses his arm. He tells Amy to go get the shot or go get the experiment thing, and she does it. She agrees. But when it came to Espio, he wasn't agreeing with going out and finding whatever Tails was telling him to find. And he would keep saying to Tails, I need to stay with Charmy. And so Tails eventually used this against him and says, do you want him to find Charmy? Just another example showing how cold Tails has become. They even show what some of his nights are like. When he's experimenting on Amy, you can just hear her screams echoing and everything across the halls, and even the child's kind of surprised by this and just horrified. But Tails has no reaction, and it seems like he's kind of using Amy to get chaos crystals. Judging based off the collection he has, he might be using her to kind of grow this stuff on her so that he can just pluck it off and maybe use the chaos energy to stop the virus as a whole. But that's just my little theory because this is still ongoing, and as it gets updates, make sure that you're subscribed so you do not miss out on the next parts. It doesn't cost you anything to press a button and or comment on the video and let me know what AUs to do next. Love you guys. Peace.